A few days ago, I tested MiniMax H3, one of the best local AI video models I've tried so far. But now, there's a new challenger, LTX 2.5. These videos were not generated with Veo, Kling, or any cloud AI service. They were generated locally on a PC. And LTX 2.5 can now create multiple shots in a single generation, while generating video and audio together. But the real question is it actually good enough for real video production, and can an ordinary GPU run it? I'll even test it on an old 8GB GPU, and at the end, put it head-to-head with MiniMax H3. So, which one is actually the better local AI video model? Let's find out. Hello, welcome to Smart Vision. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on running the latest AI tools on ordinary consumer PCs, especially local AI image and video models. Cloud AI is extremely convenient, but local AI gives us a different kind of flexibility. We can run models on our own hardware, experiment with custom workflows, and have more control over the entire production pipeline. So whenever I test a new local model, I'm not just interested in benchmarks. What I really want to know is, can people with normal computers actually use it to create something useful? I also share the workflows, resources, and download information from these videos on my Patreon, along with some exclusive tools and content for paid members. So if you'd like to try these workflows yourself or support the channel, you're very welcome to check it out. Today, we'll find out what LTX 2.5 can really do. Let's quickly go over what has changed in LTX 2.5. It is still a 22 billion parameter open-weight video model, and one of the biggest advantages of LTX is still here: video and audio can be generated together. But there are three changes I think are especially important this time. The first is native multi-shot generation. Previously, we usually generated one continuous shot. Now LTX 2.5 can attempt something like a wide shot, cut to a medium shot, then cut again to a close-up, all inside a single generation. The second change is the new Diffusion Video Decoder, designed to improve faces, textures, motion, and certain visual artifacts. At the same time, there is still a lighter convolutional VAE for users who care more about speed and memory usage. The third change is that the text encoder and distilled model have also been improved. In theory, this should allow fewer sampling steps while maintaining better prompt following and motion quality. But specifications are not the most important thing today. The real question is what the generated videos actually look like. So let's start testing. Before testing multi-shot and first and last frame, let's first look at the basic generation capability of LTX 2.5. We'll start with text to video. This time, I'm not providing any image. I'm only using a complete prompt and letting the model generate the entire scene from scratch. I asked it to create a cinematic sci-fi spaceport at night. A woman walks toward the camera while the camera smoothly tracks backward. In the background, a spacecraft slowly takes off. She first turns to look at the spacecraft, then looks back toward the camera and delivers a line of dialogue. I also included footsteps, spacecraft engine sounds, and environmental audio in the prompt.
Looks like we made it just in time.
As you can see, the result is quite impressive, and the whole scene has a strong cinematic sci-fi feel. More importantly, the model follows the prompt very accurately. The camera really does track backward smoothly as requested, and when the spacecraft begins to take off in the background, the character actually turns to look at it before looking back toward the camera. So at least in this text-to-video test, LTX 2.5 not only produces attractive visuals, but also does a very good job following instructions for character actions, camera movement, and the sequence of events in the scene. Text-to-video offers a lot of creative freedom because you don't need to prepare any visual assets. But if you want more precise control over the character's appearance and the overall composition, image-to-video is usually the more practical choice. This time, I'm using this image as the first frame, and then using the prompt to control what happens next. In this scene, the woman starts by standing still, then slowly turns her head toward the observation window as a spacecraft rises outside in the distance. After that, she begins walking forward while the camera smoothly tracks backward, keeping a natural medium shot. The prompt also asks the model to preserve her appearance and facial identity, while adding the spacecraft engine light, her dialogue, footsteps, and the ambient background audio.
The future starts here.
The result is also very impressive. The character's identity remains stable, the motion looks natural, and the prompt following is very accurate. The character actions, camera movement, and overall visual continuity all match what I asked for, and I honestly don't see any obvious issues in this test. So in simple terms, T2V is better for quickly exploring ideas, while I2V is more useful when you need stronger character consistency and visual control for actual production. However, everything we've seen so far is still just one continuous shot. Next, we're moving on to one of the most interesting new features in LTX 2.5. Native multi-shot. Why does multi-shot matter? Because real movies are rarely built from one continuous shot. Even a simple scene may use an establishing shot, a wide shot, a medium shot, and a close-up. Combining those different angles is what starts to create real editing and visual storytelling. For this test, I'm using the same reference image from the previous image-to-video test, but I changed the prompt to create 4 distinct shots. It begins with a wide establishing shot of the futuristic spaceport. Then we cut to a wide shot of the woman walking across the platform. The third shot becomes a medium tracking shot as the camera moves backward in front of her. Finally, we cut to a close-up, where she stops, looks toward the camera, and says, "The future starts here." The important thing here is that I don't want the model to simply zoom from a wide shot into a close-up. I want to see real cuts with clearly different shot compositions, while keeping the same character, environment, and audio continuity. Let's see what LTX 2.5 can do.
The future starts here.
And surprisingly, it does generate all 4 shots in a single generation, and the overall sequence feels quite cinematic. The shot transitions are clearly different rather than just simple camera zooms, and the dialogue also appears only in the final shot, exactly as requested. That said, it's not perfect. In the wider shots, the character's face becomes a little soft, and in the final close-up, I can also see some slight identity inconsistency. So for actual production, you may still want to try a few different seeds and choose the best result. Even with those limitations, I think the real importance of multi-shot is that AI video is starting to move from simply generating a beautiful clip toward generating an actual sequence. But multi-shot mainly controls how the scene is divided into different shots. Next, I want to test a completely different kind of control. Can I decide exactly how a shot begins and exactly where it needs to end? This is first and last frame generation. On the left is the first frame, and on the right is the exact final frame I want the video to reach. I intentionally made these 2 images very different, so this is much more challenging than a simple camera movement. The model has to figure out how to move the character naturally from point A to point B. For this test, I asked the woman to run toward the portal inside the spaceport and enter it. The camera then shifts to the other side of the portal, where she emerges onto an alien planet, slows down, and looks around. I also asked the model to preserve her identity and dress throughout the transition, while changing the environment and audio naturally. So I'm only telling LTX 2.5 what needs to happen between the 2 frames. The model still has to generate the entire transition by itself. Let's see the result. And the result is actually very impressive. The transition follows the prompt surprisingly well. She runs into the portal, the camera moves to the other side, and she emerges into the alien world. More importantly, both the first and last frames match the reference images extremely closely. However, there is still one obvious weakness. During the fastest part of the movement, especially when she enters and exits the portal, her face becomes slightly distorted and less natural. So fast character motion is still something LTX 2.5 can struggle with. But overall, the final frame accuracy, transition logic, and motion continuity are excellent. And if this feature can work this reliably across different scenes, I think it could be extremely useful for storyboard-based workflows. We can decide exactly where a shot starts and where it ends, and then let AI generate everything that happens in between. If you've watched this far and already want to try LTX 2.5 yourself, let me quickly show you how to install it. If you're already very familiar with ComfyUI, you can skip directly to the next chapter, because we still have Director Node, the 8GB VRAM test, and the final MiniMax H3 comparison coming up. First, install or update ComfyUI. After opening the workflow, you'll see the official instructions for downloading the required models and placing them in the correct folders. If any nodes are missing, you can install them through extension missing nodes in ComfyUI. Once everything is installed, restart ComfyUI and open the workflow. You're ready to generate. Before we move on, let me quickly explain the workflow, because it may look complicated at first, but the basic structure is actually quite simple. On the left, we have the model, prompt, and video settings. The first stage generates the video at a lower resolution. Then the latent is upscaled, and the second stage refines it at a higher resolution. Finally, the video and audio are decoded and saved. So in most cases, you really only need to change the prompt, resolution, duration, and input image. The rest of the workflow can stay as it is. For first and last frame generation, the structure is very similar. We simply add the first and last images into the conditioning section, and LTX 2.5 generates the motion between them. But the official workflow is really just the starting point, because next I want to see if our old director node and prompt relay workflows still work with LTX 2.5. Before moving on, there's one important thing I want to mention for existing LTX users. I also tried my previous LTX 2.3 director node workflow with LTX 2.5. At least with the current version, it doesn't work directly. I ran into a tensor dimension mismatch, so for now, I wouldn't consider the old director workflow plug-and-play compatible with LTX 2.5. Hopefully, this will become compatible with LTX 2.5 in a future update. But this also brings up something I care about a lot in AI video: timeline control. For example, maybe I want one action from 0 to 2 seconds, another action from 2 to 5 seconds, and then a different camera instruction after that. MiniMax H3 already supports timed prompts, but writing all of those timestamps manually can get tedious very quickly. So I recently built my own H3 timed prompt director. Instead of manually writing every timestamp, you can create segments directly on a timeline, adjust their duration, and describe what should happen in each section. The node then automatically converts everything into a timed prompt that H3 can understand. I provide a free version that anyone can use, and there's also a more advanced pro version available on my Patreon. I also share the workflows and resources from my videos there, along with some exclusive tools and content for paid members. So if these tools save you time or you'd like to support the channel, you're very welcome to check it out. The link is in the description. Alright, back to LTX 2.5. LTX 2.5 provides two different video decoders. The first is the Diffusion Decoder. It requires more computing resources, but it is designed to preserve better detail and overall image quality. The second is the Convolutional VAE. It is lighter, faster, and more memory-friendly. So I used the exact same generation settings to compare them directly. In terms of speed, the Diffusion Decoder took around 149 seconds, while the Convolutional VAE finished in about 101 seconds, which is nearly one-third faster. However, that speed improvement comes with a noticeable trade-off in quality. Looking at the results side by side, the Diffusion Decoder produced a much cleaner and more stable result, with better character detail and overall image quality. While the Convolutional VAE, the character details are noticeably softer, and for some reason, the face also has a strange glowing effect. So if you have enough VRAM and care more about final quality, I would recommend using the Diffusion Decoder. But if your VRAM is limited, or if generation speed is more important to you, the Convolutional VAE is still a practical option. Just be prepared to accept some loss in quality. And that brings us to another very important question in this video. Can an ordinary GPU actually run LTX 2.5? Next, let's answer the question that many low VRAM users probably care about most. Can LTX 2.5 actually run on an 8GB GPU? For this test, I'm using an older PC with only 8GB of VRAM and 32GB of system RAM, and I'm running the same template workflow. The result is, yes, it can complete the generation successfully. However, the speed is much slower. A video clip of around 5 seconds takes roughly 13 minutes to generate. One of the main reasons is that 32GB of system RAM is not enough to hold everything required during the process. So the system also has to use the hard disk as virtual memory or temporary cache. Since data transfer through storage is much slower than using RAM directly, this significantly reduces the overall generation speed. So if you also have only 8GB of VRAM, but your PC has more system RAM, you may be able to get better performance. But at least this test proves one important thing. LTX 2.5 can still run on an 8GB GPU. You just have to trade significantly longer generation times for that lower hardware requirement. Finally, let's go back to the question we started with. Which one is actually more worth using, LTX 2.5 or MiniMax H3? For this test, I used the same input image and kept the scene, character actions, and camera instructions as similar as possible for both models. But I'm not going to tell you which one is which yet. Let's look at the results first.
A new future is coming.
A new future is coming.
Which one do you think looks better, A or B? Alright, here's the reveal. A is MiniMax H3. B is LTX 2.5. Overall, I think both results are quite good. But in this multi-shot test, I think LTX 2.5 handles the shot transitions more smoothly and naturally. The cuts between different shots feel more like an actual edited sequence. MiniMax H3 still produces very good overall image quality, but some of the shot transitions feel slightly more abrupt. However, there is another difference that really separates the two: generation speed. For the same type of test, MiniMax H3 takes almost 8 minutes. LTX 2.5 takes just a little over 2 minutes. That is a very significant difference. So at this point, I don't think the question is simply, which model is better? The more important question is, what do you actually want to use it for? If my goal is to generate a single clip and push the raw video quality and character performance as far as possible, I would still lean toward MiniMax H3. But if I'm trying to produce more video content and I care about faster generation, native multi-shot, mature ComfyUI workflows, IC LoRa, and a more complete local AI video ecosystem, then right now I would lean more toward LTX 2.5. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see whether the latest local AI models can actually run on ordinary 8GB, 12GB, or 16GB GPUs, and how to turn them into practical workflows for real video production, consider subscribing to Smart Vision. That's exactly what I'll continue exploring on this channel. I'm Smart Vision. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.